Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, changing it to 7:30 a.m. just to, see how this time slot goes. I noticed that there were a lot more individuals able to join the live. So I was like, okay, let's try 7:30 and see how that works out. So let's start out our day with honoring God with our bodies. So God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect our reproductive organs. God, help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if this is the first time you're joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, we try to say that daily to get our hearts and our minds set right for the day before we get into the news. And thank you so much for joining me, Spud McKenzie. Good morning and amen to you. So today, I really wanted to dive into what's happening in Gary, Indiana. And my husband brought this to my attention. He goes, "Did you really heard about this?" And I was like, "No," because we were actually in that area last week during the rebroadcast to visit a relative of mine that was, under the weather up there. And I'm like, I didn't realize the storms were that bad. I had no idea that people have been without electricity since August 11th, the 19th today. Yes, they've been without power that long. And they're saying that they may not have power restored till the 21st in some areas and even up to the 25th of August. So almost 2 weeks without electricity. And see, the other things that electricity power is water, like running water. Running water just doesn't happen. It needs electricity. This is crazy. And Spud says they are using natural disasters as a means of eminent domain. They have to be. They have to be. We're going to get into it today, guys. So I want to start off with two outlets that I was able to find that put some light and covered what's happening.
We are at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center here. They are gearing up to try to support the community with meals and other resources. This as thousands remain still in the dark and without power. Now, NIPSCO has said that they are, of course, working very diligently to restore service. They expect that some folks will get their service back tomorrow, if not even tonight. But there are those who will have at least another week to wait before the power comes back on, meaning that people that are already struggling to try to kind of make things work are still having difficulty trying to keep their family fed, cool, and safe.
It's different. It's different. So we just have to do what we have to do in order to get by every day. We're so used to having power.
It's been a week since Maryville resident Melanie Prentice has had power. She's one of the lucky ones in the neighborhood who has a generator, but many are still suffering in silence in the dark. Maria Ojeda drove an hour and a half from her home in Hammond to bring her daughter some much needed supplies.
Today I brought her water, drinking water, distilled water, some other stuff, ice, of course.
The situation is like that for thousands of Northwest Indiana residents impacted by the severe storms. Deborah Level says the outage has really been tough on her daughter, who heads off to college at Princeton University on Friday.
She had a Zoom meeting with Princeton that she had to find somewhere to go so she can actually be logged onto the computer for her Zoom meeting. It's just been difficult being here 7 days without any power.
Some residents say they understand that NIPSCO is doing the very best they can following the worst outage that the utility has seen in its history, but wish the company was more transparent about where the work is getting done. According to their website, some 269,000 customers had their power restored, but 93,000 are still in the dark.
We're still working hard here in Gary and Hammond and a few other places to get that. We're hopeful by the end of the week we'll have everybody back on.
Meanwhile, neighbor is helping neighbor as the community looks to support those impacted by the severe storms. This afternoon at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center in Maryville, NIPSCO, the city, and others are serving 500 meals and other resources today.
This is day 7 for some of us who have still not had any power, any rescuing of the trees being picked up. So, but our town as a whole, they have been doing everything that they can, getting the debris and the trees picked up so that our streets can open again.
Now, organizers say what they're going to do is provide meals and other resources at noon, and then again here at 4:30. There are other giveaways and resource availabilities throughout Northwest Indiana. Make sure you check social media out for that, or rather go to your neighborhood town website and you can check that out as well. This as, of course, folks just want the power back on, but are doing whatever they have to do to survive until then.
Well, I don't know how they're going to find out if they don't have any electricity. Like, really? You got close to still, what they said, like 80, 90,000 people that still don't have electricity. Like, this is weird. So weird. So I wanted to just, scroll through just YouTube to find out, like, okay, who's covering this? So CBS Chicago, they've covered it. ABC 7 Chicago, they've covered it. That was some of the video that I pulled up. They got Fox 32 Chicago. So these are local affiliates. Now, Fox Weather, they covered the storm happening, right? Let's see, a day ago, NBC Chicago. And a lot of these affiliates are in Chicago. They're not in Indiana. So I'm like, okay. The Hill has covered it. And I think I found another one, ABC 7 Chicago. I thought I saw, and ABC News. This was the only between ABC News and Fox Weather. Those were the only two major affiliates that I was able to find that actually had some coverage on it. But like I said, I knew nothing about it. So I just wanted to walk you guys through what I found, what's being done, and what I'm really concerned about. So I asked, has power been restored in Indiana or neighboring cities without power? Says no, power has not been fully restored in Gary, Indiana. Significant outages continue there and in several neighboring Northwest Indiana communities following severe storms. Okay, so it's not just Gary. I need people to understand that. So right now, 85,000 and 92,000 customers are still without power. Okay, and that's as of the 18th. As of yesterday, Gary remains one of the hardest hit area with roughly 27,000 customers still across its zip codes 4644, 4648, 4643, 4646, and others. Restoration has been slower there due to extensive damage, right? Down poles, wires, trees, and aging infrastructure. That was the part that really concerned me. Aging infrastructure. Why haven't they been able to keep up with infrastructure? Because, Gary's not that big, right? So what's really happening? And, when things like this happen, it's very telling of how well at the local level things are being taken care of, like the roads. They said the trees, the powers. So are we not cutting the trees back? So if there is a storm, the trees aren't going to take out the electricity, right? And if they do, where is the backup generators? Because most cities have backup generators to at least give the residents power until power can be fully restored. What happened, right? So Gary has not been included in some of NIPSCO's community specific estimated restoration time ETR list. So they weren't taking care of Gary. And this is telling, right? So I said there are neighboring cities. So there's Hammond, East Chicago, Griffith, Highland, Hobart, Maryville, Munster, Portage, and Lake Stations all show thousands of customers affected in recent NIPSCO data. Now, some areas, Crown Point, Cedar Lake, Michigan City, have far fewer remaining outages. So they have some, but it's not as many, right? NIPSCO's broader goals have been 90% restoration by the end of August 18th and near 100% by Friday. Yeah, that's still 2 days from now, August 21st. Though individual cases and harder hit spots, including parts of Gary and some neighbors, may take longer. Highland and Munster have later listed estimates around August 25th. So there are some people that still won't have anything until next week as far as their power goes. And this is just really, really, really sad. So I said, has an emergency been declared for the state? Yes, there has been an emergency declared. So, okay, that's a good thing. The declaration was issued around the 13th or 14th, directed by Indiana Department of Homeland Security to coordinate resources mobilization, the Indiana National Guard, and activated state agencies for response and recovery. Okay, President Donald Trump approved a related federal emergency declaration on the 15th, authorizing FEMA assistance for emergency protective measures in numerous counties like Lake County, home to Gary, as well as Porter, LaPorte, and others. This supports response efforts such as debris removal, power restoration, support, and related needs. Now, the city of Gary also issued their own local disaster emergency declarations. And I asked, of course, another question, are there any videos of FEMA providing assistance? There's limited public videos that show FEMA personnel actively distributing aid or working in the field, specifically in Gary or Northwest Indiana. Most available footage focuses on the announcement of the federal emergency declaration rather than on ground operations. So you're not going to see FEMA yet. And it's been 8 days. Like, where are y'all? So the emergency was declared basically last week. Where are you? Right? And Spud says, in today's data centers are more important than generator backup centers. Oh, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Just look, give me a second. So key available videos, FEMA's role. So going over that. And I said, can you tell me the approximate budget that the Indiana Department of Homeland Security has? They get $94.4 million per year. That's their budget. They have a general fund of 44 million, dedicated funds 19 million, federal funds 31 million, total of 94.4 million, right? I'm like, okay, so Indiana secure school safety grants like 27 million. They've got regional grants. So the money is there. So they can't say they don't have the funding. And I said, have any of these funds been used recently for the power outages in Indiana? And they say yes, right? So funds and resources administered or coordinated through Indiana DHS. So state disaster relief funds, which people hopefully will know about because I haven't really seen any reports on this. They opened this fund on the 11th storm event. Eligible residents can apply for emergency aid grants up to $5,000 for essentials such as food, clothing, and uninsured medical devices, especially for those displaced from their homes. Applications are available through 211 or the IDHS website. Officials noted the fund was already depleted to around 2 million due to the earlier June 2026 storms, with discussions of potential additional state resources. I'm like, wow. So in June, it was almost depleted, even though another disaster was declared? Okay. But I will let you guys read through this. I'll definitely have the link. And Spud also says, when we know those generator centers would be needed by data centers in a major power outage. Yeah. So, what I also wanted to show you guys was the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. Here's their website. Okay. So you can see, it's very, how should I say, they're publicized, yeah. And here's how you can connect with them, right? They talk about individual assistance, but I didn't find anything on the website related to current disasters, right? They're talking about via their portal on uh, February of this year. They have radio service request portal and different things like that. But I didn't really see anything on the current issue. So I also went to their YouTube page. So they do have a dedicated YouTube page, which some of their videos haven't been updated in 3 months, right? And their most recent one was 2 weeks ago. But I'm like, why aren't you using this to get the word out to people? Here's the shorts. The shorts don't have anything to do with the emergencies that are going on. So here it is. Okay, this was 4 months ago. Indiana Department of Homeland Security. You know what I'm saying? To ensure you get vital information. How are they supposed to get vital information? You're not posting anything. I'm giving more information than you guys and even major outlets. The $5,000, when I researched it today, that was the first time I had heard about it. Now, I wanted to get into some other questions that I was going through at Grok, and I said, can you locate a schedule for data centers slated to be built in Gary, Indiana? They said no. Detailed public construction schedules exist for data centers specifically to Gary City Limits. So there's trackers list an unnamed Gary project served by NIPSCO. You heard that name, NIPSCO. That's the electric company, right? That services the area. It says only as proposed or rumored with no disclosed developer capacity, acreage permits, groundbreaking date, or phased timeline. So Northwest Indiana, including Lake County communities near Gary, is seeing heavy data center activity due to available land, power NIPSCO, and proximity to Chicago. The most concrete nearby projects are Amazon Web Services campuses in Hobart, okay, which borders Gary. So Hobart is a very important word or city to learn about, which is right next door to Gary. And so they have allotted 168 acres. Yeah, you heard me. 168 acres. And they're going to have 6 primary data center buildings plus secondary structures. Rezoning and site plan approvals occurred in 2025, early 2026. Mass grading and earthwork have been active. Construction traffic mitigation, including temporary signals on 61st Avenue, was approved in August. Got approved this month. An IDEM air permit application covering backup generators was filled in July. So there are backup generators for the data center being built. What about the people who lost power for 8 days? You're not using those backup generators for them, NIPSCO? Like, really, what's going on? I'm just saying, I'm asking questions. So there's a lot in here. I just wanted to get down to some different things. I'm just going to touch on it. But it says in the recent power outage slowing construction of the data centers? No, they're not slowing down. So no public reports indicate that recent widespread power outage is slowing construction of the data centers, primarily the Amazon AWS projects in Hobart near Gary. Okay, so the current outage situation, severe storms, right? And who it's affecting. Restoration has involved significant infrastructure damage. Okay. So, relation to data center construction, the main active projects in Hobart, right? And that's the campus with 168 acres. Site preparation, grading, and early construction activities have been underway with local approvals for traffic mitigation, including temporary signals for construction traffic, granted as recently as early August. So that means if they have temporary light signals, they've got electricity. Why are people still without electricity, but you still have it for the data center? I said, can you find a map of the 168 acres? Right. And I said, and our schools closed to accommodate this. Apparently, there weren't a lot of schools closed to accommodate this, but the concept and the layout began in December of 2024. And there was local opposition to this. So the people were fighting back, but they didn't care. They still moved forward with it anyway. But here's the map of it. And I think, yeah, it's just like this general block area of where the data centers, plural, are going to be. So there's no evidence that any schools were closed, relocated, or permanently shuttered to make way for this. But a lot of this is what you guys see. You see that green space? That's farmland. Yeah. Farmland that's going to be it's going to have data centers on it. We've got, everybody's talking about the price of food going up. Well, why aren't we using this area to produce more food? Corn is a primary crop in Indiana, but we're not using it to produce more food for the people. We're going to put a whole bunch of data centers there. Okay, lets me know where your heart is, right? Totally. But there was one I wanted to get down to, and I asked, how many layoffs has Amazon had since 2025? To me, that's significant. They had 30,000 corporate job cuts since late 2025, primarily in two major rounds. So in October 2025, they let go of 14,000 corporate roles, eliminated as part of efforts to reduce bureaucracy, flatten management layers, and shift resources, which means they eliminated most of your C-suite positions, and they went down to have supervisors and managers. And now those supervisors and managers, they're just doing the CEO's work, but they're not getting CEO pay. They're just doing their job because they did that same thing at Turner Broadcasting. I went through that before in corporate America. And I was like, wow. So you're not going to get promoted to do the same work that the CEO does. You're just going to get more work and less money. That's what's happening. And January 2026, they eliminate 16,000 more. So it's not just the physical labor that's getting eliminated. It's also the corporate structure. They're getting eliminated too, because their jobs can be automated. Most of them, right? We've got AI now, right? Yeah. Let's see, Unfiltered in Nick Shirley, Aaron Brockovich. Yes, research today. I'm thankful for bringing this about Gary to the masses. Yeah, look, this is crazy. This is insane, but it gets better. So, smaller targeted reductions have occurred afterward, right? Described as affecting a small number of employees. 30,000 is not a small number of employees. But like I said, those are probably what happened with those shifts. So they're building the data centers. They're eliminating the C-suite positions, right? Most of them. And they're just putting that work on the backs of whoever is going to accept it and less pay. So they can have a bigger bottom line. Like, how much money do you need? It's like, what is really going on? But again, some of this is being eliminated because some of it's being automated and their jobs just aren't necessary the way they used to be. So I said, will the data centers bring about more layoffs? There's no clear evidence and suggestion that the data centers planned or construction will cause additional Amazon corporate layoffs. But I was looking at kind of like lower levels, right? So, how the data centers fit into Amazon's strategy. Amazon is investing heavily in data center capacity, right, including a large Northwest Indiana sites near Hobart to support AWS growth and AI workloads. These are capital intensive infrastructure projects that generate temporary construction jobs. Temporary. So these are not permanent because once it's built, they don't need you anymore. Just don't. And a smaller number of permanent operational engineering and support roles once online. Okay. So the bottom line is any future workforce changes would more likely stem from broader company priorities. So I said, did this data center get a tax break? Yes. So the thing about it is they keep saying, oh, well, it's going to make you a lot of money. How is it going to make the city money when you're giving them a tax break? They're not going to be paying the same amount of taxes. Somebody's going to have to pick up those taxes. That would be the residents. I'm just saying, somebody, look, the money's got to come from somewhere. Okay. So here's the deal that they cut. Designation of a large area, roughly 725 acres, encompassing the project sites near 61st Street. Okay. So real property tax abatement, a 10-year, 100% real property tax abatement on investments by Amazon Data Services and Hobart Owner LLC. We'll get to who that is in a second. So enterprise information technology equipment exemption, a long-term reported a 35-year, 100% exemption for qualifying enterprise information technology equipment. Wow. And related community enhancement development agreements. So these incentives were part of a broad package tied to Amazon's planned investment in the area, described in local reporting as part of a larger multi-billion-dollar Northwest Indiana commitment. So offsetting payments from Amazon. In exchange, Amazon agreed to significant direct payments to the city, including an upfront $47 million community enhancement payment. Okay. Additional milestone payments, tens of millions tied to building permits and construction progress, which is, again, temporary. It's not forever. Ongoing annual payments once buildings are operational, reported in the range of $2 million per building. And I think there's like 6 billion or 6 billion. So like $12 million, right? City officials emphasize that these payments go directly to Hobart. They go to Hobart. They don't go to Gary. They don't go to the other surrounding cities, just one location. Not through a TIF district in the same way standard abatements sometimes work, and that the developer is covering 100% of the related infrastructure costs. Okay, but that's not going to stop everybody's utility bills from going up. These data centers use a massive amount of electricity. It's got to come. The check is due. I'm just saying. So I said, can you explain Hobart LLC and their involvement? Hobart LLC is a limited liability company that serves as a formal applicant, land-related entity, and project vehicle for one portion of the Amazon data center development in Hobart, Indiana. It is the named applicant for the Hobart Data Center campus, the smaller of the two related sites, which covers approximately 168 acres, right? Hobart LLC has been the entity listed on key local filings, site plan applications, fill grading permits, real property tax abatement request. City resolutions explicitly approve tax abatement for investments made by the Hobart Owner LLC. And so what benefits is this to the residents of Gary, Indiana? So, okay, so what's the trade-off, right? So direct benefits Two Gary, Indiana residents from Hobart Amazon Data Center project are limited. The project is located in neighboring Hobart, also Lake County, Northwest Indiana. So most tax revenue, community payments, and local control stay with Hobart. However, there are some regional and indirect upsides that can reach Gary residents. Okay, we would hope so, right? Primary benefits. Hobart is receiving the bulk of the negotiated benefits, large direct community enhancement payments. So we looked at some of those. Potential benefits that can reach Gary: regional job opportunities, construction, and some permanent data center roles. But that's if they get them. That's if they don't bring in their own people, right? Utility rate protection. Through the NIPSCO, Amazon is covering the full cost of new generation and transmission needed for data centers. That, to me, that's not going to last. This is projected to deliver roughly $1 billion in savings to existing NIPSCO ratepayers over 15 years, and help avoid cost shifting to residential and small business customers in the service territory. So what are they going to do if they raise their rates? What are you going to do? Leave? I'm just saying. Broader economic activity. Okay. So where Gary does not directly receive the major cash payments and property tax growth from Hobart, they're not going to get that. The site is not in Gary city limits, right? So Gary does not control zoning, permitting. Permanent and operational staffing at data centers is relatively modest compared with traditional manufacturing and distribution centers. So the job impact is not transformative for any single nearby city. It's not going to be like this massive, oh, we're going to hire 50,000 people. That's not what this is going to look like. So I said, is Gary listed to become a smart city, 15-minute city? No, because I just had to double check. So that's good. And it seems like Gary, Indiana is being phased out as the latest power outage. Also, the data centers will eventually become a utility. So it says, no, it's not being phased out, and the residents will have to pay for its own utilities. So I was like, okay. So I had to ask the question differently. I said, what do the data centers provide? What is it? What is it? Why do we need so many of these things? So it says the Amazon data centers planned and under development in Hobart area, right, primarily provide large-scale computing capacity for Amazon Web Services. That's their main thing. I was like, okay. These are hyperscale data centers that house thousands of servers and specialized equipment. They supply the physical infrastructure that powers cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning workloads, reliable, always on digital services. So I said, okay. All right. So I said, will AWS customers have to pay for this service? Guess what? Come on. Yes. You're going to have to pay for this after you get a bill. But they keep talking about, well, there's going to be money coming back. It's your money. Oh, okay. So AWS customers pay for the cloud computing, storage, and networking, AI, and other services that run on these data centers. That's the crust of the matter. That's all I wanted to know. So when I say it's utility, I'm saying it in the sense of they will make it so, yes, this is something you have to pay for. It's not optional. You're going to have to pay for it. And I guarantee you, property taxes are going to go up, right? Utility bills will go up. As much as they keep saying these data centers, oh yeah, they're gonna, lower the cost. It's gonna come out of no, it's not gonna come out of their pocket. We're already putting it in their pocket. So this is just a circular thing till somebody goes broke. Is this just a new way of socialism? Because that's what it looks like to me. I'm sorry. This is not capitalism. This is This is good old socialism to me. That's what it looks like. I'm just saying, if I'm wrong, let me know. Elizabeth says, I wonder how different Gary, Indiana, and Minneapolis, Minnesota will be today if two prominent Black men from that area were still alive today. I don't know. In my opinion, it might look a lot different because I think a lot of things would have been turned down. But, the steel industry, things moved around with global trade and we stopped manufacturing our own stuff. But yeah, see, AWS is a commercial platforms. Customers, companies, government, startups, developers, and university, etc., choose services and pay based on what they use, typically through pay-as-you-go pricing, okay, reserve capacity or savings plans for longer-term commitments, specific pricing for AI machine learning tools, databases, content delivery, and other offerings. Yeah. So this is just corporate welfare. And we are paying for it as American citizens. That's it. You're going to come in and tell us, this is going to be great. We're going to pay you guys with what money? Okay, so you have other customers buying stuff off of the Amazon platform, which is like Google, right? For stuff. But at the end of the day, who really gets stuck with the check, right? I'm sorry. At the end of the day, the American people are going to be stuck with the check. And that's not fair. Not at all. I know Donald Trump and the tech bros, and they all got together and they're like, this is going to be great. It's not great because you're using the American people as your piggy bank, and this is nothing but corporate welfare. This is nothing but socialism. Trying to mask itself as capitalism. This is wrong. Completely. If the American people, if our lives are not bettered by this, which they won't be, we will be living in squalor, trust, because this isn't sustainable. It's not. Really? 168 acres? When that's farmland and that could be developed for real food? None of this is right. It's got to stop. So I thank you guys for joining me here today on Unfiltered Vision News. We will be back tomorrow with Mighty Men Thursday. So thanks again for joining me. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.